Hello! Welcome to Math with Mrs. Hansen. I'm trying to solve a math problem, but I don't know where to start. Last week, Mr. Hansen and I planted 362 seeds for our garden. This week, we planted 189. I don't know what strategy to use, but I could really use some help. So let's get out our Super Scholar notebooks and let's get started. Let's talk about some strategies we could use to solve this problem. So first, we're going to read the problem. Mr. and Mrs. Hansen planted 362 seeds for their garden last week. This week, they planted 189 seeds. How many seeds did Mr. and Mrs. Hansen plant in all? The first thing we want to do is circle all of our key numbers. So we have 362 last week and 189 seeds this week. The next step is to underline our question. How many seeds did Mr. and Mrs. Hansen plant in all? After we underline our question, we want to figure out what are the action words in our story problem. So what are the words that tell us if we're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing? So I see the words in all. And in all means I'm going to be putting it together, and that means I'm going to be adding my numbers. So now that I know I'm adding, I know what my numbers are, I'm going to come up with the equation to solve my problem. So we have 362 plus 189. Once we have our equation, we have a big decision to make. What strategy are we going to use to solve this problem? The first strategy we're going to practice is called number line. What I like about number line is that as long as you know how to count, you can use a number line to solve your problem. The first step of doing a number line is to draw your line. You want to draw a nice long line so you can fit all your numbers on it. Your first number that you're going to put on your number line is going to be your greatest number. So I have 362 and 189. 362 is greater than 189, so that's where I'm going to start. I want to make this as easy on me as possible, so I choose the greatest number so I have the least amount to jump. Then we're going to look at our hundreds. So there's 100 and 189, which means we're going to do one big jump of 100. 362 plus one more 100 is 462. Our next step is to look at our tens. So in our tens place, we have 8. This means we're going to do 8 hops of 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And each of these hops is worth 10. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. All right, 462 plus 10 is 472. 10 more is 482. 10 more is 492. 10 more is 502, plus 10 more is 512, plus 10 more is 522, 532, and then finally 542. Now we're going to look at our ones place, and we have 9 hops of 1. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 542, and we're going to count by 1. 543, 544, 545, 546, 547, 548, 549, 550, 551. So now we have our answer. We could stop here and be done with our problem. However, the best thing to do as a mathematician is to go back and check your work. In our classroom, we call this a Leah check. A couple years ago, I had a student named Leah who would always go back and check her work using a different strategy. So that's what we're going to do today, is learn a couple of strategies we could use. So we did number line. Our next strategy we're going to do is called expanded form. And what's great about expanded form is we get to look at the ones, tens, and hundreds separately. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our numbers, 362 and 189. We're going to pull them apart. Expanded form means we're going to decompose, pull apart the numbers, and see their ones, tens, and hundreds. So 362, if we pull it apart, is 300 plus 60 plus 2. 189 pulled apart, decomposed, is 100 plus 80 plus 9. Then we're going to just go through our ones, tens, and hundreds, and we're going to add together. So 2 plus 9 is 11. 60 plus 80 is 140. 300 plus 100 is 400. Now I'm looking at these numbers and I notice I have some extra tens in my ones place and an extra 100 in my tens place. So what we do is called regroup. That means I move over those extra numbers into the place they belong. So this extra 1 is now going to go over into the tens place. And extra 10, is going to go over into your tens place. And your extra 100 is going to go over into your hundreds place. So now you have 1 plus 50 plus 500. And 500 plus 50 plus 1 equals 551. So let's go back and review real quick to make sure this is clear. If we have 2 plus 9, it's 11. 11 has 1, which we see right here, and it has an extra 10. So we move that extra 10 into our tens place, which gives us 150 here. But then we also have this extra 100, which goes over to our hundreds. And now we have 500 plus 50 plus 1 equals 551. Now this was a Leah check, so I'm going to check, does this answer equal the answer I got with the other strategy? Yes, it does. So this means that I'm probably on the right track. But we're going to practice a couple more strategies just so you can choose which one you like best. So our next strategy is a class favorite, and this is base 10. This is one of the first strategies we learn when we're learning two-digit addition and subtraction. And what we do is we're going to draw our numbers. So a square is what our hundreds are. The tens are a line, we call them a 10 stick, and that's going to be our tens. And then our ones are just a little dot. And now we're going to keep going. So we have, for our base 10, we have 362 and 189. We're going to start by drawing our numbers. 362 has 1, 2, 3 hundreds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tens, and 1, 2 ones. 189 has 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tens, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ones. We always start in our ones place because if we have extra tens, we need to move that over to our tens place, and then our tens, if we have extra hundreds, we need to move that over to our hundreds place. So to make it easy, we're going to start from right to left. So let's count our ones first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, when I have 10 ones, that makes a new 10, so I draw that over in my tens place. Now I have 1 left, and I put that in my answer. Now we're going to look at our tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 tens. Ooh, that's an extra 100, so I'm going to go draw that in my hundreds place. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tens left over. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundreds. And again, I can check with my other strategies. Did I get the same answer? Yes, I did. Okay, so we have one more strategy we are going to look at today. And this is going to be a family favorite. This is the strategy that your parents are probably using all the time. This is how we learned way back when I was in school, so I call this the old school method. But the name for it is standard algorithm. Standard algorithm. Okay, so with standard algorithm, it's really important that students don't practice this one until they have a really good foundation of base 10 and really understand what's happening with their ones, their tens, and their hundreds, and the relationship between those numbers. So if you are practicing this strategy, make sure you're going back and practicing one of the other strategies as well, so that you're getting in that practice with base 10. It's really important for students to understand base 10 and have that strong foundation because they use it a lot once they get into a higher level of math. Okay, so let's look here. What we do is we line up our numbers by our ones, our tens, our hundreds. And I like to draw these lines because it makes a real clear separation. And we're going to label real quick O for ones, T for tens, H for hundreds, just so we remember. Okay, so we're gonna start in our ones place. We have 2 plus 9. 2 plus 9 equals, and I'm gonna write over here just so we can look at it, 11. Okay, 11 has 1 in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 1 in the ones place. And now I'm gonna look, and I see there's an extra 10. So this extra 10 needs to go into the tens place because we are going to regroup. So our extra 10, just like we do up here with our base 10, we're going to regroup it into the tens place. Now let's look at our tens. We have 6 plus 8, which is 14, but then we have that extra 10, so that is 15. So if I write it over here, it's not just 15 though, because this is 10, so it's 15 tens, which is the same thing as 150. So looking at 150, I have 5 in my tens place, so I will go ahead and put 5 in my tens place. And then I have an extra 100. And that extra 100, just like with the base 10 up here, we need to regroup it and put it in our hundreds place. So now I have 1 extra 100. Now let's count our hundreds. We have 3 plus 1, that's 4, plus that extra 100 is 500. So again, we get 551, and if we check it with the other strategies, we get the same answer. It's really important with this one. I know it's easy, it's fast, but it's really important to understand why you're moving over the extra 10 and the extra 100. So again, if you're using this strategy, go ahead and go check it with one of the other strategies, just so you know you're getting that extra practice with base 10. Okay, so now that we have our answer, we need to go back to our problem, and we're going to answer in a complete sentence. So in our classroom, we do something called recycle the question. So we look at the question and we use words from it to put into our answer. So let's read it. How many seeds did Mr. and Mrs. Hansen plant in all? So we're going to answer it, and we're going to think about how can I use words from the question in my answer. How many seeds did Mr. and Mrs. Hansen plant in all? Well, I'm going to start by saying Mr. and Mrs. Hansen planted, and look at our answer, 551 seeds in all. Now we have our complete answer. We have the answer, we have a label, so we know what we're talking about, and we've written it in a complete sentence so we can be sure that we are actually answering the question. So awesome job, team. Wow, there are so many different ways to solve math problems. I hope you learned some strategies today too. We use math all the time in our everyday life. Can you think of some ways that you have used math recently? I'm gonna leave you with a challenge problem, and you're gonna be the mathematician now. I want you to use one of the strategies we just practiced, solving the problem 418 plus 357. Remember to do a Leah check and go back and check your work using another strategy. Thanks for tuning in for Math with Mrs. Hansen, and remember to always do your math problems and to use your strategies. Bye team, and I'll see you next time.